my fellow Americans. This is former President Barack Hussein Obama, and you're listening to the Mad Titan Podcast. Please be sure to support this young brother from Chicago, Jay Washington, because he's a funny bastard. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
I ignored my destiny once. I cannot do that again. Even for you. I'm the only one who knows that. At least I'm the only one with the will to act on it.
The Mad Titan Podcast with your host, Jay Washington. What's happening, everybody? I'm back. It is episode 62 of the Mad Titan Podcast. And me, your resident supervillain, Mr. Jay Washington. What's going on? How you doing, people? If you can't tell by my voice, I'm trying real hard to give y'all this with the level of energy and enthusiasm and everything that I have. But it's very difficult. I'm not going to lie. I didn't know if I was going to put this episode out this week. Excuse me. I didn't know if I was going to be able to sit in front of my computer, sit in front of my microphone and make my writing sheet and do this all week. Well, since last week, you already know what everything's been going on, and unless you've been under a rock, because literally all 50 states are talking about it. But since last week, it's just been so much more, and then this week was just so tiring. And you know the expression, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired? That's how I feel. But I just said, you know what? I got to do this. I got to do something different. I got to do something out the norm. I've been fortunate to speak on these issues on a lot of different platforms for a lot of different people, so I've been grateful for it. But I got to come here and do what I got to do. So, you know, throughout all the drama, I hope you all are as best as you can, staying healthy and safe. I won't even say sane anymore because that seems like it's a moot point. It's a moot point at this, this junction in time. But for those who are new to the podcast, if you've discovered me over the past week or so, what I do here is I get you caught up on everything that's happening in the Marvel and DC live action and cinematic universes. This is Barbershop Talk for Nerds. So I'm going to keep shit as real as I am. If you follow me and you realize like, yo, this dude keeps shit A100, I'm talking about everything real. Now, for those who don't know, I have a lot of friends who work either in the comic book movies or on the comic book TV shows. And yes, they know how I talk. And yes, they respect my opinion because I keep it raw. I'm not disrespectful if I don't have to be. I'm not just going to slam some shit to slam it. But I got some things to talk about later that I'm going to be like slam like Onyx. Like, yo, if you don't know what that song is, I get it. You might want to go ahead and Google it. But anyway, I always kick it off, as I do each and every week, with my Marvel news. And my first news story of the day. So check this out. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they're set to come to Disney Plus. Now, they've, halted their production due to the COVID-19 pandemic, it was expected to drop in August. That may not happen. We're not sure right now. But here's a big thing. If this show is renewed for season 2, the name of the show will more than likely change. So, peep this out. This is what came out on Murphy's Law. Charlie Murphy, I don't think that's no relation to Eddie Murphy. He said he gave some light as to what fans can expect from the Disney Plus show. He said, quote, coming out of season 1, Bucky Barnes and Sam Wilson are going to have gone through something traumatic and be different. He also said, given the fact we don't know what that means, he goes further to say, there was definitely at one point a plan for a second season. Now, if they did have season 2, it would be called The Falcon and the Winter. It wouldn't be called The Falcon and the Winter Soldier season 2. It would be a thematically related thing with a different name. Now, what could that be? So, here's the deal. If I'm not mistaken, what I've heard about some of the plot of Falcon and Winter Soldier is that the U.S. government does not want to accept Sam Wilson as Captain America. Go figure, right? Look at the country we're living in this day and age. Sounds about right. If you also remember the way people reacted to when he was on the fucking cover of an actual comic book, people lost their shit. So this is pretty much expected. But if they do, I could see this. I could see Bucky finally being Bucky and not wanting to hold to the Winter Soldier moniker because of all the hurt and all the pain and the destructive past in which that causes. Also, I can see Sam actually being accepted as Captain America. So it could be called Captain America and Bucky. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the best thing. Or Bucky O'Hare, Captain Bucky O'Hare. That's a cartoon. I'm sorry. I don't know why I did that. I'm trying to make myself laugh through this, okay? Because it's just me this week. It's just me. I was hoping to get some people on here with me, but I was like, I don't even have the energy to reach out to people. But I think that would be a good thing. Now, here's the thing about season 2, though. I think it pretty much is set to happen. The reason I can say that is most of these shows, when they're being done, they're already filmed for 2 seasons, or there's already a 2-season order, just so you can have the backup, the follow-up to it. So I don't think it'll be a surprise. And I think last week I brought it up that Clark Gregg from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was talking about how Tom Hiddleston filmed 12 episodes. And for those who don't remember going even further back, Loki is set to be 6 episodes for 1 season. So if Loki is 6 episodes for 1 season and he's filmed 12, you all do the math. That's 2 seasons. So, it becomes interesting. I'm hoping for a fact. I'm hoping that it does. You know what I'm saying? I'm hoping. So I would like to see that happen. I would like to see him just be called Captain America, what he's set to do. Speaking of Disney Plus shows, WandaVision is set to start shooting next month in July here in Los Angeles. Now, this is also known because Paul Bettany was scheduled to be at a comic book convention and has canceled his appearance. Yes, we thought initially comic book conventions and Comic-Con season as a whole was done. But I think I explained this on a previous episode of the podcast. I can't remember exactly which one. A lot of these cons had shut down due to the coronavirus pandemic. And because of that, their insurance companies could handle the payments that were needed to, pay out the convention halls or their, deposits and all these other things and cancellation fees and whatever the case. Well, when the governors of said states begin to say that the state is operational, that means that the Comic-Con can happen, and the force majeure clause, which is in the insurance companies, which is act of nature, act of God, is no longer in effect. All right? So that's why Con's working. Now, in a Facebook post by the Tampa Bay Comic-Con, they confirmed that Paul Bettany is no longer able to take part in the event as he'll be shooting WandaVision. This is what they said on their Facebook post. Quote, "We finally received word from Paul Bettany's representation, and unfortunately, Paul had to cancel his appearance at TBCC this year due to being called back by Disney for WandaVision filming in July in Los Angeles. We're working on guest additions." Now, there had been rumblings that they was going to come here in LA to film some scenes, and it could be filmed in front of a live studio audience. But, given what's set to happen, Marvel Studios is probably going to have to make some changes. Now, if you remember in some of the trailers, I think in the main trailer that we've seen for WandaVision, it's like they're in sitcoms. Like they say the first half of the season is a comedic sitcom. It's a family sitcom. And then it goes darker and serious. So I can see them wanting to have a crowd and not really wanting to introduce a laugh track. I think they'd want to be able to show a crowd and show that reaction. And also, I know, again, social distancing, they want to have a real crowd and not a CGI'd crowd, because you would look and see a clearly CGI'd crowd, and I think that would shake up some things. Now, if this still is the case, though, with this production resuming, there's a great chance that WandaVision is going to hit Disney Plus this December as it's been originally planned. I think the problem behind that is Doctor Strange Into the Multiverse of Madness, because this show, WandaVision, is supposed to directly feed right into that movie. So you have WandaVision happening. You don't get Doctor Strange for like a year and a half, and this is all due to Sony moving back the third Spider-Man film in their trilogy. So you have to watch it and then remember. And the reason also, for those who are not clear, those who might be a little bit confused, why this shit is kind of a big deal. The main thing that Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige said when these Disney Plus shows were announced were that they are in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They are a part of the MCU timeline. So these shows go directly into parts of the movie. This is a key part, and I've said it for the longest. I believe the key part of this WandaVision for Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness is that Wanda Maximoff finally becomes Scarlet Witch and is the bad guy in this movie. Now, this is not counting out Chiwetel Ejiofor as Baron Mordo. So, it's a lot of things and shit can happen. So I want y'all to plot and ponder on it and see how you figure out how you feel about that. All right, in other news, this is going to be some interesting news, and I think it's a little bit exciting, but it's still too early to fully say what this means. So the rights to Daredevil officially return to Marvel in less than 6 months. Now, remember when all of the Marvel Netflix shows were canceled, there was a 2-year period after the show was canceled that Marvel would be able to reacquire the rights. Well, according to the post on Save Daredevil on Instagram, they have a meme that shows Charlie Cox boxing. It says 18 months down, 6 more to go. Now, I don't know. A lot of people are hoping this means that this means we will probably see Daredevil, Matt Murdock, in the third Spider-Man movie, which could be the reasoning behind the delay for the third Spider-Man film, because Matt Murdock can become his lawyer to help Peter Parker defend himself against the charges that he is Spider-Man. But I know a lot of people are still like, they want Charlie Cox to be that same person, that same Daredevil. But Charlie Cox believes that his time as Matt Murdock reached its end, and it does highly seem likely that the property will be rebooted alongside a bunch of other Marvel television properties. So that would mean no more Mike Coulter's Luke Cage, no more Finn Jones as Danny Rand, no more Kristen Ritter as Jessica Jones, and another unfortunate casualty, no more John Barenthal as the Punisher, nor Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk. So these are all very unfortunate, but again, we want the properties back in the MCU because, again, you can get more great stories through them. You can tell more, you can do a little bit more, and you can show more of the Marvel Universe. And again, that goes to something that's been said over years, and I've pushed back against on this podcast and on many other shows your boy has done. When people keep talking about superhero fatigue, like, yo, it's not a thing. People are sitting here wanting these properties to go back to Marvel so we can see what they do with them. And, some people say we can do them better. I personally had zero problem with Daredevil. I understood what Jessica Jones was. Luke Cage season 2, it had its things. But then when it came to Iron Fist, I don't want to even discuss that because I feel like my heart hurts every time I talk about Iron Fist. Like, you was just hoping and praying for something halfway fucking decent, and you just got that. You didn't even get something good. You just got that. Okay. I meant to bring this up earlier when I talked about WandaVision. I didn't organize my notes correctly. Again, I barely organized my notes. So I told you it's supposed to possibly start. Yeah, that's what I said. I'm mentally in a mood right now. But it's supposed to possibly resume filming. That's all, folks. I'm so freaking tongue-tied. It's set to resume filming this July out here in Los Angeles. But there's also been a major casting announcement news, and I want y'all to hear this. So WandaVision has reportedly cast Evan Peters in a mystery role. If the name Evan Peters to some rings a bell, to others they can't pinpoint and put their finger on it. Evan Peters has played Quicksilver in X-Men Days of Future Past, X-Men Apocalypse, and X-Men Dark Phoenix. Okay? Now, he's signed up for a key role. No one says what it is yet, but here's the thing. A lot of people are expecting Wanda to bring her brother back, to bring Quicksilver back. But Quicksilver in Avengers Age of Ultron as her brother was played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. And he's made it clear he's got no plans to return as the hero. So I think it would be perfect. It would be perfect for her to bring in another Quicksilver who is still her brother. I think that is genius. Now that Marvel owns the Fox property, the Fox Marvel properties, you can bring in Quicksilver from the X-Men universe. If that be the case, that's the instant way to merge everything. But we've all been saying that WandaVision can be House of M, change everything around. I still stand by, my Eternals theory that Eternals helps jump it off as well. So now you have 2 points. I'm like, yo, I'm good for this. I'm perfectly game for this shit because it works so well. Because also, if you remember in Days of Future Past, he had his sister, and unfortunately they weren't twins, I don't think. They didn't do the twins part in that X-Men film, but I think that's also due to the rights issues for those who didn't know. Like, they were allowed, Fox didn't want to give back the characters to Marvel, so they could keep the characters. They just couldn't do certain plot points and storylines and stuff like that. So I think that was why. Don't quote me. I might be right. I might be a little bit off. Again, brain ain't functioning at 100%. But you can sit there and say, hey, we're going to have Wanda, she wants her brother back. That's one of the things she wants. And she can't bring back directly her brother, but she can go into different universes, and she brings her brother back from another universe. Her brother back from another universe is Evan Peters' Quicksilver. I'm for this shit, okay? And I'm recording this on 6/4/2020, the day you getting it, the day it's dropping. So you can quote me on it, and probably a bunch of other people have said it too, but just make sure you say your resident supervillain told y'all about it. Bada bing, bada boom, all right? My last bit of Marvel news that I have for the week, J.K. Simmons, he's revealed that he has signed on to appear in multiple Spider-Man sequels in the MCU. Now, I gotta explain this. So, everybody was geeked up. I told y'all for the longest he was coming back. J.K. Simmons was coming back as J. Jonah Jameson. I told y'all this for the longest he was coming back on here. I be telling y'all stuff, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not going to toot my own horn, toot, beep, beep, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. But he was doing a press tour for Defending Jacob. And when he was asked by People TV's Couch Surfing podcast if he expects to return as the head of the Daily Bugle in the upcoming Spider-Man Far From Home sequel, he said, I don't know if I would use the word expect. This is what he said. This is before he explained that he had signed on to appear in multiple Spider-Man sequels, presumably all set in the MCU. Now, the studio isn't necessarily obligated to use him in any follow-up, but you think the way he was received, he would use it. So he isn't letting the uncertainty get him around. This is what he said, quote, it's great to have the opportunity as these things evolve to be one of the holdovers from the previous version, which is true. He's one of the very few holdovers from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man. Granted, the Andrew Garfield one, I don't think we want to get into it, But when he talked about the beloved trilogy, he elaborated on landing the now iconic role. He described his old school camera test to win over a number of skeptical executives who were hoping to land a bigger name for the part. So this is what he goes on to say, quote, the producers and the people at Sony, they needed to be convinced because obviously there were much more high profile actors that they had in mind that would help with the box office. It was very nerve wracking. Now, when he talks about the scene he had to perform for his test, this is what he said. It included a scene where the Green Goblin breaks through the windows and picks me up by the throat and lifts me up in the air and is strangling me. I'm holding the script pages, reading the scene on the audition, but at the same time he makes that cartoonish, hands around the neck, pretend like I'm being lifted by the neck and choked. So what this tells y'all is that even actors that we sometimes consider high profile are not considered high profile by studio executives. Like, you still got to prove them because, again, as much as I love acting, as much as I love being in the entertainment industry, as much as I love, going out to perform on camera and showing people my level of talent and my range, people will still go with name before your talent because they think that name always draws to the box office. And in recent years, we have shown that name does not draw to the box office. And if it does draw to the box office, it does not give a good film. And yeah, I know, I've said it as well, that a lot of times these studios do not care about the quality of the film. They just care about the box office revenue. So it is, I don't even know if we want to say it's a catch-22. It's just hella weird. All right, so it's hella weird. But I'm hoping to see him in multiple Spider-Man. Now, see, also, Spider-Man sequels, I don't know. I could also see them using them in Spider-Man spinoffs. Let me just say that. I could see him being brought up to talk about Michael Morbius. I could see him being brought in to talk about Jackpot, to be in to talk about Kraven the Hunter, the Sinister Six when they come to them, Venom and Carnage. I could see that. I don't know how far we'll go when it comes to the MCU itself. I mean, New York, they use that WHIH news, and of course, in this iteration of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Daily Bugle is of the InfoWars Alex Jones vein, where it's almost like a conspiracy theory website. It's almost just like a tabloid publication. It's like the Inquirer, but I think that's actually cool because now with the acknowledgement of aliens and these superpowered beings and things like that, you can have J. Jonah Jameson add that spin on everything as he's always done. He's known to do through the Spider-Man movies, cartoons, and comic books of how Spidey's just a villain no matter how much good he does in the hood. You know what I'm saying? You would think the Spidey that he's talking about is a black dude, but that's another subject for another day, correct? I am absolutely correct. All right. So that is all of my Marvel news that I have for the day. All right. So I'm going to go over to my DC news. Now, this is a really, really interesting story. The first up. Okay. So last week I talked about it. It made waves that Ruby Rose quit Batwoman. And now she's saying it was, people have been come out saying that it was a mutual partnership and that it was a mutual partnership and that they felt it would be best for both parties. And, Ruby Rose dropped her thing saying for those who know, they know, and blah, 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 and all that shit. And I really was like, the fact of the matter is she never wanted to be the lead of this show. She only wanted to work 1 or 2 days out of a week. She made it help to work with the crew and some of the cast members. She was not a good fit, and they should never cast her at first. They only cast her because of her name profile. Did I just not talk about this with J.K. Simmons? I literally just had that conversation with y'all with J.K. Simmons. All right, so cool. Now, everybody was under the impression at first that Batwoman would be recast, right? Now, when we heard Batwoman would be recast, you're like, oh, they're going to find another Kate Kane. Cool. Well, in light of all of that news, some new info has come that they're replacing Kate Kane with an entirely new character. So what is believed to be a leaked casting call has made the rounds, and it seemingly confirms the mantle of Batwoman is going to be passed from Kate Kane to a woman named Ryan Wilder. Now, of course, as somebody who has done acting and auditioning for major roles, you never know the exact name of the character. You know what I'm saying? They're never going to give it out and say this is exactly who this character is because casting officers don't want to get inundated and flooded with agents and reps trying to be like, yo, put my talent in here, get my guy, get my girl in here. So I get it, but the character is broken down as being likable, messy, a little goofy, and untamed. But she's also nothing like Kate Kane, the woman who wore the Batsuit before her. So they're not going to tell you which exact, because there have been different iterations of Batwoman. So let's just let it be known with that. Okay, this is what you need to understand. This is how they broke it down. With nowhere in her life to keep her on track, Ryan spent years as a drug runner, dodging the GCPD and masking her pain with bad habits. A girl who would steal milk for an alley cat, but could also kill you with her bare hands. Ryan is the most dangerous type of fighter, highly skilled and wildly undisciplined, an out lesbian, athletic, raw, passionate, fallible, and very much not your typical all-American hero. They're also saying that they're looking towards more so an openly LGBT character, LGBTQ identifying actor. Excuse me. Let me make sure I clarify that. So you need to be in the community to do that. You need to be in that community. Like, we're not finna sit there and cast some straight woman to say she gonna be gay for pay, for lack of better words. We're not finna have somebody that's gonna play the role and not really be about it, because that's what Batwoman is. She's an open lesbian character, again, as a description. So I'm game for that. But I personally, now, if you follow me, I write for Cinelinks.com. I cover a lot of these stories for Cinelinks. I haven't been able to put up a lot this week due to, all the shit that is going on in the world. But I have no issue with this. I have no issue with this. Some people are like, yo, they should just go ahead and recast Kate Kane and call it a day. They should just put somebody else in the cowl. I initially thought they were just going to do the whole, since all of the multiverses have merged in Earth Prime, they just were going to say, oh, this is another iteration of Kate Kane. I think it's all good all together. I think it is. What happens? You kill off Kate Kane. Kate has to die. Plain and simple. You cannot do the she's disappeared for X amount of years like you doing Bruce Wayne. You can't do that. It makes no sense to do that. You have to do Kate has to die. This way you can eliminate that. You can eliminate that whole need to explain the possibility of why she may come back. You can eliminate that moment in history with her. For the show, not only the show, but for the fans, for the cast, and the crew. You can do all of that together. Also, you can lose that tacky ass, tiresome ass, Alice, you're my sister, and I still love you. You can drop all that. We don't need that anymore. It got real played out when you kept trying to drag it out. That's my twin sister. No, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do this because Rachel Skarsten and Ruby Rose look nothing alike. They look nothing alike to even say the fraternal twins type line. No, we're not going to do that. So you can drop all of that, give this show a fresh start going into a new season. You can have the other heroes in the Arrowverse acknowledge the death of Kate Kane. Have it hit Supergirl for real because that's who she made the biggest bond with. Yes. Kate Kane is a paragon. Yes, I get that. Are we going to need the paragons anytime soon? Probably not. So we ain't got to worry about the crisis angles anymore. It's done. So yeah, recast this. Move from it. Go ahead. One of the writers that I write with on Sendlinks was like, I don't know how I feel about this. She's a very good Batwoman. And I'm like, yo, you really are. Look, I understand that opinions are like opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. Opinions are what a person believes on something, and no opinion is right or wrong, as we say, right? However, that is the wrong opinion. I have not heard anybody who has really said this show was solid from jump. People will say, well, it got better, but you have to look around the star of the show for it to be better. Do y'all get that? You know what I'm saying? You can't tell me. That's like telling me I got to look around Arrow after 8 seasons to see it's better, but I can't stand Stephen Amell. I just couldn't stand Stephen Amell. I'm using this as a hypothetical. I have to look around 7 seasons of The Flash and look at Candace Patton, look at Danielle Panabaker, Tom Cavanaugh, Carlos Ramirez, all these guys, Harley Soiler, everybody else, the whole cast, all of Team Flash and whatnot, and Jesse L. Martin and whatnot, but I don't look at Grant Gustin. I have to focus on all of them for the show called The Flash, but not focus on The Flash. You get what I'm saying? I hope I'm making that clear to some people. Like, again, I try to keep shit real 100 with y'all. It's just that I don't know too many people who were like, yo, Ruby Rose is what makes this show. I don't know too many people who are like, yo, Ruby Rose is the glue that holds this show. I've seen so many people say they've gave Rachel Skarsten praise. They've gave Megan Tandy praise. But Nicole Kane, Cameron Johnson, I've seen all of them get praise. But I'm not seeing people sit there bending their back trying to praise what Ruby Rose's performance was in the show. So again, eliminate it. Eliminate it. Gotham has never been without a bat. You changing Batwomen does not hurt what the story is. There have been multiple Batwomen. Batman, we know it's been Bruce, but then we know other people take up the mantle as well. You get what I'm saying? So it doesn't hurt anything. Now, there are people who, no matter what, have their opinions of the Arrowverse shows. They think they're cheesy, they're teeny bopper dramas, and they're just, they're like the Vampire Diaries and every other show on the CW. But again, if a certain network has a certain theme, what do you expect? Granted, yes, these are superhero shows. These are comic book characters. Like, yo, you got to realize what the fuck you watching. Why do you think Supergirl looked like it did when it was on CBS? Because it was on fucking CBS. Like, y'all gotta... The Gifted looked like The Gifted on Fox because it was on Fox. Legion was able to be wild as shit because it was on FX, and FX has put out some crazy wild shit. Need I go to what we do in the shadows that is out currently? Nip Tuck, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, The League, these crazy ass shows that you got to see to believe. It falls in those parameters. So when you see these CW shows how they are, yes, I understand that all the cast members and people they use have the same body frame and structure. There's supposedly no thick ass people in none of these cities. I'm trying to be the first thick. The only thick people you see is in Atlanta Light, in Freeland, in Black Lightning. It's the only time you see a thick brother or a thick sister. I'm trying to be the first thing. And people, look, Dave Ramsey's a whole different ball game, okay? Dave Ramsey started out he's been a series regular for Jump, okay? Dave has gotten progressively bigger in the show as these shows progress. I'm trying to be the first thick brother in Star City. You know what I'm saying? I want to be a thick nigga on the Wave Rider. I want to be thickums in Central City. You know what I'm saying? I want to be a thick brother ordering at Jitters. That's a goal of mine. That is a goal. When the post office reopens, I'm getting my passport so I can be a thick nigga in Jitters. That is what I want on a t-shirt. A thick nigga in Jitters. But again, back to the point with Batwoman. We'll see what happens. I'm for it. All right. This is gonna be stacked. For weeks, Snyder Cut happening. Yeah. Me. Bullshit. You know why? Sets a dangerous precedent. First and foremost, let me go to the HBO Max boss talking about the criticism surrounding the release of it. So, HBO Max boss Tony Goncalves was asked about the decision to release the Snyder Cut and made it be clear that this should not be viewed as the new norm. It shouldn't be, okay? This is what he said, quote, "Look, definitely not a precedent, and you're right. There's different type of fandoms. There's the fandom you just described, and there's other fandoms," talking about the release of Snyder Cut fans, first and foremost. He said, "My reference to the fandoms is the fact that we're in a space where consumers are loud, consumers guide, and we absolutely have to listen as industry. I had a boss that once said, industry and consumers aren't always aligned, but consumers do tend to win. It's a fine balance. And when it comes to video, when it comes to entertainment, when it comes to content, consumers have never had more choice and they've never had more of a voice. But that doesn't mean that we will go and invest our dollars in every single fandom that exists. But I think the reference to the Snyder Cut and the Friends fandom is the fact that the consumers are speaking and we have to listen. It doesn't mean that we're going to redo every movie ever made, but I think we definitely have to have our ear to the ground, and I think we do. I just go back to look at the buzz that the Harry Potter library brought us yesterday. It was a wonderful surprise and delight. It's because consumers are passionate about these franchises. Okay, so I'm fine with that statement. You are right. Consumers do drive a lot of things. However, this was not a consumer-based thing. This was a crying and whining thing. This was a director who kept saying, I actually did another movie, but they won't let you see it thing. That's what this was. You released the Snyder Cut, and I will continually say it to the day I am no longer able to talk on a microphone, come in front of a camera, and say what the fuck I feel about it. They only did this so they can get more subscriptions to HBO Max. You are not going to tell me this was because you listened to them. Yes, consumers. So what you're hoping is people are going to get subscriptions to HBO Max and keep it, which is why you're going to break it down into 6-part episodes so you can't just have a 7-day trial. But now you got to hope that people ain't sharing passwords so you can make this revenue to pick up this more than $30 million tab that it's going to require to finish this movie. Okay? Fine. When it comes to Friends, that is an entirely different ball game than the Snyder Cut. Friends was a thing that you all had licensed out to Netflix that was highly viewed and highly streamed on Netflix, and then you pulled it and people wanted to see it again. This was not something that had never been seen. This was something that was always out. Harry Potter the same way. These are things that were done. These were things that were already out in the ether. These were things that already had been consumed. The Snyder Cut had not. And for years, you did it. For years, you just let it go. And then all of a sudden, when HBO Max comes around and you realize you don't have these pre-sale numbers, so now you say we're going to release it. But now you got to drop a major-ass tab that the only reason you're doing it to hope is to not only do you make back that money, but you make up in subscriptions what you needed to make up to make it seem like HBO Max has been a win thus far. Because, yeah, you have certain shit on the library, like you have Space Ghost Coast to Coast, but from some people you don't have Space Ghost. You got the Crunchyroll library, supposedly, but people who have the Crunchyroll itself says that library is way more extensive, so it's no point. This is not... I don't care if you're one of those release the Snyder Cut people. I don't give a shit. I know you're like, well, you're just salty. I'm salty, yes, because of what it sets going forward. It does. He can sit there and lie. Tony Goncalves can sit there and lie and say it does not set a precedent. Yes, it does. I'll go back to Sonic the Hedgehog. When we first saw that initial trailer, we collectively as consumers everywhere, there was not one single person who saw the original Sonic trailer with the original design of Sonic the Hedgehog and did not think that didn't look like a fucking nightmare. Not a single person. Not a one. And so that would have affected the movie as a whole. Right? People went and saw Justice League, and regardless, some didn't like it, some did, some didn't mind, some just was like, whatever. But the crazy part is, people who released the Snyder Cut fans, as we've seen on fucking Twitter and Instagram, went and bought the Blu-ray copy of it. So not only did you drop money more than likely in the theaters, you went and spent more money, and then to try to quote unquote show how you really feel, you decided to burn your shit that you've already paid for. It's the dumbest fucking statement in the world. So again, you felt because you whined and cried to get this. This is not a real... I understand, yes, consumers have more choice than ever. Again, there's parts of this statement that he made I agree with wholly. I'm not going to deny that this shit wasn't right. But trying to spin it like we're listening when you're not. You're looking at that graph. You're looking at that chart. You're looking at that table on your computer screen that shows you the numbers did not hit what you thought it was going to hit. That's what you're listening to. I mean, looking at, because you're not listening to anything. Because now, like I said earlier, that this whole thing about the Suicide Squad, the David Ayer cut, is coming out. So allow me to go to this part first. So Cathy Yan, the director of Birds of Prey, she responded to David Ayer. Now, David Ayer tweeted about some changes that were made to Suicide Squad. We already know, supposedly says, all of the meat and potatoes of Jared Leto's Joker, his Grand Theft Auto Joker, were taken out and whatnot, okay? So, this is what he said. This was reshot because the tone was too dark. My first act was a normally constructed film. I took my inspiration from Nolan. There were real scenes with incredible acting between Jared and Margot. The Joker was terrifying. Harley was complex. Now, listen what he said. It was dark. Warner Brothers already stated they didn't want their universe dark. So I don't know what the problem is there. Again, studios bring you on to do something. They have a plan. You are brought on to enact that plan. So Cathy Yan retweeted him and said, I'm so sorry this happened to you, David. I know the pain. Fair. Now, when Cathy Yan retweeted that, Grace Randolph, who needs to shut the whole fuck up. Yo, if you don't know who this bitch is, pardon my expression, she swears she knows all the ins and outs about the movie and the film industry. She swears she has all these sources, but she's one of those people who consistently puts her foot in her mouth. Now, I know you're like, yo, Jay, you being hella misogynistic, blah, 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 blah. You can kiss my ass, because I don't care if you're a man or woman and all this. I don't care. Y'all, again, I keep shit 100 with y'all. But when you act like you holier than thou, you act like you better than everybody because you quote unquote have these inside sources. Nah, and you get called out on your shit. That's another problem. Because I know, again, people are listening like, well, yo, Jay, you say you know these things and you figure out these things. Yeah. But things I found out and know, they vetted. They aren't just me speculations. They're vetted. If I tell you I got an idea or a guess on something, I tell you it's an idea or a guess. I don't pass off an idea or a guess as its logic, as its fact. So Grace Randolph retweeted Cathy Yan's tweet to David Ayer and said, I told you guys, massive reshoots largely take out dick pic storyline and add more action via Chad Stahelski, the director from John Wick. I'm surprised Yan would jump on his bandwagon though. Birds of Prey was very well reviewed by critics and has a very strong fan base that vehemently defends the film as is #DCEU. Cathy Yan went on further to comment to her and said, "Excuse me, you have no idea what you're talking about. It's fascinating you would deem to try to when you weren't part of the process whatsoever." So Grace Yan decides to sit there and say again what she thinks is, no reporter is ever part of the process. They're different jobs. Everything I reported is common knowledge with many insiders. I brought it to the public. I gave your film a good review, and I said, here, you have a strong fan base, so logically there should be no problem here. And Cathy Yan again responded, and I thank you for your support, but let's set the record straight. There were never dick pics. You peddling a pedophilia rumor is not journalism. Peddling any gossip is not journalism. I know I was one. So, I don't think motherfuckers understand. So now, people are trying to come at Cathy Yan. So somebody said, honest question, if the pic was tasteful, why was he hell-bent on getting it back? She said, it was a joke to show how narcissist he is. It didn't work. We all agreed. So we rewrote some ADR. That's it. Absolutely no reshoots were devoted to this nonsense issue. And so, she also said, because this is talk about dicks about Roman Sizemore, about Black Master's dick. So then she also says, this is exactly what she said. This is not true. This is Cathy Yan. This is not true. There's never been any discussion around the size of Roman's dicks. I can't believe I even have to write that. That original script called for an image of Roman as Michelangelo's David. Art. If that's a dick pic, then the Louvre is full of them. The Louvre in Paris. Cathy Yan then says, meanwhile, articles like below are written off of your quote-unquote scoops. Congratulations on being a scum of journalism. And she literally, the article she tweeted is from Cosmic Book News, which is just as trash and as much bullshit as we got this cover, said Margot Robbie's Birds of Prey has pedophilia elements. This bitch Grace Randolph is terrible. I need people to stop supporting this chick because of quote unquote, and I've seen it in comments. I've seen it in tweets. I've seen it in Facebook posts that she's a quote unquote pretty white blonde, not even pretty white chick, a pretty girl. Let me just say, because people think she's a pretty girl, so they believe her. Fuck out of here. There are people doing real journalism, getting real scoops, getting real information, and not trying to skew things for clicks and fucking likes. And that shit is annoying. And I'm glad Cathy Yan put her in a motherfucking place. I am so glad. I am so glad because it needed to be said and it needed to be done. Now, go back to the David Ayer cut of Suicide Squad. Here's some bullshit that came out a couple days ago. So now there had been talk about an idea of releasing the Ayer cut. And because he's talked about Jared Leto's Joker having a larger role, also revealing a completely different opening sequence and ending. But Warner Brothers is talking about doing it, but it's not in the too distant future. See, you got to remember this again. The original Suicide Squad was only lacking a handful of visual effects, and it was completed enough to be test screened. So, why do people think they're going to drop this too? This is the precedent I'm setting. I'm talking about that's being set. You got people now with their social media hashtags release the Ayer cut. This shit is ridiculous. This shit is getting out of hand. Motherfuckers trying to make a rumor and some bullshit that there is a Lucas cut of The Rise of Skywalker. Get the fuck out of here. Like, yo, stop trying to make shit happen that ain't gonna happen. I've said this before, and I've said this again, and I'll say it again. Fandoms can be the worst. Fandoms can be the worst. These wannabe bullshit reporters can be the absolute worst, and then some. It's fucking ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, let me move on to some positive type news. So So in light of the news that Henry Cavill was in talks to return to the role of Superman for multiple sequels, David F. Sandberg finally added Henry Cavill to the movie's final scene of Shazam. Now, if you remember at the final scene of Shazam, you got Freddy sitting at lunch, and then because at the table at lunch in school, and he had told that he had told the students that he was going to be able to get Shazam and Superman was going to come to lunch and all this other stuff because he knew him. Didn't happen. Well, at the end, Billy turns into Shazam, and sits down with Freddy for lunch. And Shazam tells Freddy, I brought a friend. And in walks this Superman suit. It's the exact Man of Steel suit, but it's not Henry Cavill in the suit. We don't see any face. So, What David Ayer did was added a long neck with Henry Cavill's face at the top. That's the most hilarious shit I think I've seen, and a way to appease people. Like, no, there's not going to be another shot of that, a reshoot of that. No, there's not going to be a, that's what Henry Cavill's going to redo. Like, people keep thinking everybody's coming to reshoot scenes for Justice League. No, that's not fucking happening. I didn't get a chance to see the Legends of Tomorrow finale as of yet because of everything that's been going on this week, so I will catch up on that. I'm sorry I don't have a breakdown of it. I've been enjoying the season. I have. It's been reported now that The Flash in Season 7 of The Flash will actually battle the real Godspeed. So we get more BD Wong. I'm game for that. And we're gonna go back to the Speedsters, which is a impossible thing to dodge, I guess. It's gonna happen. You're gonna get speedsters. That's what the Flash is. It's a speedster, so you can't really be too upset, I don't think. But so that is all the news I have in Marvel and DC for the week, all right? Right now, I'm going to go to my Mad Titan Podcast emails and calls. If you want to email me, you can email me, madtitanpodcast@gmail.com, madtitanpodcast@gmail.com. All right? You can do that. And if you got phone calls, you like to hear the sound of your voice, and you want people to hear your voice, 818-276-6947, 818-276-6947. I will play your call on the air if I can hear your voice. All right? So let me go to my email that I have. My computer's taking the time to load up. Here it goes. Here's my email. Tongue tied like a bitch. I've been talking a lot. I still got to do a lot of talking after this later. But anyway, emails from Joe Crack. Joe says, "Hey, Jay, I'm sure you've probably talked about the recent Batwoman news by the time this email gets to you. But do you have thoughts on why it seems that Hollywood is afraid of recasting these characters? Like, comic books are soap operas, and soap operas have recast characters for years. James Bond does it too, but aside from Rhodey and Banner, there seems to be a hesitation to just recast these characters with different actors to continue the stories. I get it. I get that movies are different than TV, but I don't know. The idea of replacing Kate Kane entirely out of the Batwoman TV show seems real weird when it affects so many of the actual relationships in the show and the talked about Superman and Lois crossover. Look forward to hearing your thoughts, whatever they may be. I know times are tragic, and I hope you and yours are safe. Joe Crack from Philly." Thank you, Joe, first and foremost, for your email always and your support. I did you right. I did talk about this earlier. I think you moved the story forward. I think you now move the story forward. I think one of the very few people that remain in this story are Cameron Johnson as Luke Fox and maybe the Crows, maybe Megan Tandy. You can, like I said, you shift away from the family dichotomy of the show. As far as the crossover with Superman, I don't think it affects it at all. Because if you have Ryan Walker, whatever the character, I'm going to use that name, the placeholder name, come in and now is taking up the mantle, now has the cape and cowl, Superman still can be in this crossover, but now Superman has to be more of a mentor to this new Batwoman, if that makes sense. A lot of times they aren't afraid of recasting characters. I mean, they've recasted a lot of characters. It happens more so often, but it's also the problem of social media. Social media, when you recast somebody, people go crazy on tweets and Facebook posts and Instagram and flooding emails. And I understand that people want to have a voice, but I still say sometimes everybody shouldn't fucking have one. So I think that becomes the issue in which you're dealing with. And so sometimes it's just better to say, look, we'll just go a whole new character. And again, in a show like Batwoman, it's not that difficult to do, because of the mixed reviews and the mixed criticism Batwoman has. Like I said earlier, I have a writer that I know works with me on Cinelinks, and she enjoys it. And there are others who do as well. So there's mixed. So I don't think I think, with the show already being split, or maybe even just divided, I'm not going to say split down the middle, being divided amongst people how they viewed it and perceived it anyway, your best bet is just say, fuck it, let's do a new character. Because if you do recast, you may not appease those who already like the show while appeasing those who didn't like the show. So why not start from scratch in a sense with a new Batwoman? There are some people you can keep that are essential and pivotal. Again, Cameron Johnson as Luke Fox is pivotal to this because she needs someone to give her the tech. And so you go from there. Hopefully that answered your question, Joe. I hope I cleared that up in my personal opinion. Again, I'm not saying what I'm saying is law and is fact, but I hope it did clear it up, all right? So I'm going to go to a call I got from the hotline right now.
How you doing, Joe? This is Paul calling from Kentucky. 2 questions. First, with all the Avengers teams they've had over the years, is there one particular team you'd like to see get a Disney Plus show or animated movie just as a nod to the fans about possible teams to come? I personally like to see a Dark Avengers or West Coast Avengers show on Disney Plus or a possible movie. Also, with DC animated movies being as great as they are, can you see them making a Batman Who Laughs movie, or is his story a little too much even for DC? Love to hear your thoughts. Thanks, Jack.
All right, thank you, Tyler from Kentucky, man. I always appreciate your calls. First question. Yeah, I definitely want the West Coast Avengers. I want it, and again, give me Squirrel Girl. Give me Squirrel Girl. I know she's supposed to have a show on Freeform. Nothing has come to that. And again, that was under the old Marvel television regime. So if you can give me Squirrel Girl and you can do that, I'm fine with it. Give me a Disney Plus show. Let it build up. Give me 6 episodes. And then eventually you can feed them into the giant Avengers battle that will be coming soon. Totally fine with that. As far as the Batman Who Laughs, it's really difficult because they've established the one thing the DC animated universe has established is that things are connected. That's the thing. They're trying not to go too rogue with the multi-universes and the multiverse. So I think it is a little too much. And granted, they're already on this path that they're going. Yeah, for those of you seen Justice League Apocalypse War, Apocalypse War, they ended that story. They closed it. And now you have Barry fixing what he started in Flashpoint Paradox. So I think there is another thing, but I think Batman Who Laughs would go into a whole other thing. It would be more so of a movie, it would be more so of a movie under the realms of like a Joker of what they did. And speaking of which, I forgot to mention earlier, there are talks of after the Batman drops, the Matt Reeves, the Batman starring Robert Pattinson, that they may do a spinoff for Bane, a la the Joker. So how we saw Bane become Bane, how we will see Bane become Bane, like we saw the Joker become the Joker. Even though I still feel to this day, and I still believe in the bottom of my heart, that is not the Joker. And I know a lot of people have tried to argue me up and down about it, but listen, he only calls himself Joker because he was a stand-up comic and a clown. It's the only reason. It was not like, I know it's like, yeah, what do you want more? But it was only because he was a comic. And yeah, now people go, well, what about the Killing Joke? Only because this movie was set in Gotham City. And there is the Waynes. That is it. That is it. There is nothing about this that says this is the clown prince of crime. This is just an anarchist, which is similar to what Heath Ledger's was in The Dark Knight. He's an anarchist because he just causes chaos and stardom. I'm not saying he's the same thing. I get this is more so of a mental health story. And again, the story about mental health is very in the level of what it does. It creates a serial killer, and it's very difficult to digest without the vehicle of a comic book character. I get it, but I still don't. I still to this day will not fully accept Joker as a comic book movie. That's just me, and even Todd Phillips has said that. But back to the Batman Who Laughs. I think you would have to do it somewhat similar to that. Set it in the multiverse. I think that's the best thing you can do with that. I don't think you can really do anything else. I don't think you can put that in the DC animated universe. It's hard because again, they're connecting their movies. Their movies are interwoven, and so you're not with DC animation going to make a side movie to do that. That makes sense. Hopefully I answered your question, all right? And that's all I got from the hotline. Again, if you want to get your calls in, 818-276-6947, 818-276-6947, and you can email me, madtitanpodcast@gmail.com, madtitanpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you, everybody, for rocking with me for the 60-second episode of the Mad Titan Podcast. This was a hard one to get through, y'all. I feel like once I got the ball rolling, I was able to get going, and it was pretty good. But it was a difficult one with everything that's been going on. please rate and review this episode wherever you got your podcast from. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, rate and review it. Yo, what this does is it pushes up higher in the algorithm. More people find out about this. And like, yo, I get there a million different comic book TV show and movie podcasts. I get there a bunch of dudes talking like that. But I kind of try to pride myself on the fact that I'm the only one talking like me. I'm the only one keeping it real like me. I'm the only one rocking with it like I do. And when I bring my guest on who know we're going to have a real discussion. We're not going to pull these punches, you know. We're not going to try to be blatant. Like, I know a lot of people like, yo, Jay, don't you want to work in these movies or on these TV shows? How you going to say this? And again, everybody who knows me that works on these projects, no, I am never trying to be blatantly disrespectful. I have an opinion. I know how to express my opinion without it just being like, oh, you an asshole, even though I can be an asshole, but I'm not being that, all right? So please make sure you rate and review this, all right? Thank you to everybody who checked this out. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you for everybody who has been extra supportive and checked in and touched base with me throughout these trying times that have really hit this country and this world very hard. It means a lot to know that people are concerned about how you're feeling and how you're doing. And yeah, if you just know how I'm feeling in these past couple of weeks and months, man, imagine how I've been feeling for the longest. That's just a little bit of it. I just want people to understand. And hopefully it seems like people are beginning to understand what is going on and what people have been talking about for the longest. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Mr. J Washington. That's MRJAY. You should know how to spell Washington, all right? Check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/JAYWashington80. I am going to start reviewing older movies that I checked out, that I rechecked out, and shouldn't just start giving my reviews on them again, and just to have stuff up here because I want to talk about some stuff. And sometimes I feel kind of hollow not having anything up there, but just like, you know, just the Harley Quinn reviews, which I love doing with Winston A. Marshall. You can check that. We're about to start doing Stargirl. We're gonna play catch up on that. Yeah. So make sure you rate and subscribe to the YouTube channel and join my Supervillain Squad on Patreon, patreon.com/Mr. J Washington. I put a lot of different things up there that I don't talk about on here. I will expound on certain conversations I've had here, and I will put other thoughts that I can't really go fully in depth on typing out on Twitter or even on Instagram. So I put them on there. I put up my stand-up comedy clips. I put up my pro wrestling matches, and so much more. And I want you to become a member of the squad. And being a member of the squad, which you automatically are, is a producer of the Mad Titan Podcast. Because of you and your support and your love, I'm able to do this every week. I'm able to get the equipment, upload this, pay for the editing and all that other stuff and that I have done and that I do, you know, all that crazy, you know, that stuff that crazy kids do. A little wildness. But nonetheless, seriously, thank you to all of my members of the squad, my newest members who have just come aboard. Thank you, Adam Collins, Ashley King, Brian Kemet, Brock Stevenson, Dan Bemke, Jared Simpson, Jason Inman, my bro, Kyle Grandinetti, Rahul Alejandro Mendoza, and my existing members of the squad who've been here for the longest. I appreciate y'all. Adelia Chamberlain, Adalberto Rios, Akeem J. Brown, AZ Badfish, Blue 87 Jones, Brandon Buckingham, California Joe, Christopher Connolly, Kasi Nachalobe, David Adams, DJ Snacks, Fanboy Cantina, Phil More Pockets, Fred Castillo, Greg Morsheek, Hank Staley, Hillary Nellums, Jake Icavetta, James Smart, Jeffrey Chadorn, Jim Mason, Joe Crack, John Mariano, LK, Marcus Kennedy, Marcus Burton, Mikey Lito, Paisley Darts, Randy Constance, Rudy Gueda, Samir Tesfaye, Steve Tozen, and the Prince that wasn't promised. I want to thank you to all of my producers of the Mad Titan Podcast. All of my co-producers. Like, yo, I don't do this without y'all. I'm not rocking this without y'all. Y'all are the reason I'm here. I mean, all you listeners too, y'all good. Y'all already know y'all fucks with your boy, and I fucks with y'all. But my members of the squad, yo, I'm also looking on. I want to say this too. I'm looking to I know I draw, and I can do some stuff. And mentally, again, I have not been able to get things out of my head and get them straight. But I want to get a logo. Not only are you all producers of this is now officially under the Supervillain Productions umbrella. For those who know, I started my own production company. So this is under the Supervillain Productions umbrella, and I'm trying to get a logo. I don't know if I want the logo to be like me ripping up an S and a V or something. I want something that pops out, that screams me, that screams Supervillain and Productions and, you know, all that stuff. So if you can do that and help me out, email me. You know what I'm saying? madtitanpodcast@gmail.com. All right. What else is there? Check out Blurs in the Hood, please. Check out Blurs in the Hood. It's on the Blurs in the Hood channel with myself and Winston A. Marshall. YouTube.com/BLERDS, the letter NTHEHOOD. We are on Twitch.tv as well. This past Tuesday, was our 20th episode, and we entitled it Black Lives Matter. And instead of doing our normal show that we do every week where we just crack jokes, we talk about the world of pop culture, the crazy news, entertainment, nerd shit, everything abound, we took this week to be a town hall to address what is going on, the protests, the reason for the protests, the racism, the reason we chant Black Lives Matter, the reason why all lives matter, the saying all lives matter diminishes what we are saying at the moment, and so much more. We got candid, we got real, we got raw. We hope to offer clarity, understanding, incitement, and a lot more. Now, we had a little fun. We had some jokes every now and then, but we took that show to use our platform to be more than what we are. And also within that, we raised money. All proceeds from that episode, we donated to two amazing causes. One, we donated directly to Black Lives Matter, and the other to Sip and Sonder. Sip and Sonder is a coffee shop that is based in Inglewood, California. We wanted to help a local business, and what they are doing is providing free coffee to frontline workers in local Inglewood area hospitals. And so we raised $3,500 for that episode, which I can't tell you how amazing that was to see that, for him and I to see that number go up. We literally thought we were only going to raise $1. We literally thought we were barely raising $1. I thought we might hit 1,000. I thought we might. And to know people wanted to support and believe in what we were talking about, understood, gave, we grateful. And Sip and Sonder was a good thing because they had a GoFundMe to help raise the money to be able to provide the coffee for the frontline workers at the local Inglewood area hospitals. And their GoFundMe at the time was for $1,800, and they had raised $300 of the $1,800. And so once Winston and I made the donation, they had hit their goal and surpassed it, and they are still raising money. So we were grateful, we were honored to be able to do that, to give without. And I know a lot of people always be like, yo, y'all raising this money, what is going on? But we want to see the receipts. Well, the receipts are definitely out there for everybody to see on myself and Winston's social media. Just make sure you know, look, $3,500 is raised, $1,750 to Black Lives Matter, $1,750 to Sip and Sonder. So there was never an issue of where the funds were going to go. So we were grateful to do that. And again, please, if you can, check that out. It's about an hour or so, a little over an hour, and it was very necessary. It was necessary. All right. Yeah, so that's all I got, man. Listen, thank you, everybody. Like I said, if you've been checking on me, if you're rocking with me, listen, this was hard to do. I said it before, and I know I'm rambling towards the end, but it's just me this week. I can say what I want. This is mine. It was hard to do this. It was hard to sit down and put the notes together. It was hard to say, all right, let me sit in front of this and start talking and talk about kind of movies and TV shows and have fun doing some shit I love doing. You know, this ain't just a job. This is something I love to talk about. I'm a nerd in my heart, and I get to share my nerddom and my fandom with so many people. And so I'm good with it. And thank you all for rocking with me throughout this time. It means more. When I tell you guys, a lot of people have DM'd me and be like, yo, and all I can say is thank you so much. I appreciate it, because it's hard to express in words how I truly, truly feel. How I truly, truly, truly feel. But I am beyond grateful. I am beyond fortunate. I am beyond blessed. I really am thankful for you all. Holla at you guys next week. Till then, I'm out. Bye.